Let's do it.
Hey all, Strait Talk here with Lori and Mel. But as I said, Mel was sick, so we have a special guest. But I'll wait till more people come in, and I'm sure they'll recognize your avatar without you even having to say anything. I did put, they all know you. Some hate you, some like you, but they all respect you. So we used to do it 4 to 6, but with people at work and stuff. And hey, Spencer, it gives them a little time to come in and get home from school and work and the gym and everything. So, hey, little Joker. Hey, Susie Q. Sorry you got timed out the other night. When I realized what was going on, I went in and I made sure something was said. So I don't know what happened, Susie. So, but on our behalf, we do apologize. I wasn't in there, so I didn't see it. But as soon as it was brought to my attention, hey, little Joker, how you doing? So my special guest host is having a little internet connection problems, but like I said, everybody knows her. Some hate her, some like her, but everybody respects her. So well, she'll be back in a minute. She's just going to be popping in and out throughout the whole stream, but that's okay. But Mel's been sick. Whoa, hey Michael Payne, hey Sunflower, how you guys doing? So our special guest today is, if some of you don't recognize the icon, would you like to introduce yourself, special guest host?
Hey, y'all. It's Meg. It's me. It's me. It's MEG.
It's Meg. It's okay if you're going to have to go in and out, Sunflower. Hey, Miss Luck, how you doing? Appreciate you guys coming in. Like I said, Mills is still sick with bronchitis. She's got the bad cough. She's on the other side of it. But instead of canceling on you for 2 shows in a row, we decided to come on and figured Meg would be the perfect stand-in for her. But our original topic was going to be how trauma and pain and anger has affected your present day relationships. But we're going to change that up for a little something. Me and Meg together have been married close to 60 years combined with the amount of years we've both been married. So we're going to tell you how we have done it, what we have learned over the last 26 to 30 some odd years. And, you know, it's not advice, it's just our opinions and how what's worked for us. But we thought, hey, Smart Genius, how you doing? We thought it might, give other people that don't know that it's possible to have a long lasting relationship. I never did. I don't know about you, Meg, because I know you got married pretty young, but I did too. But they never lasted, and I never came from a history of long term relationships, even my parents. So I didn't believe in forever. So, how about you?
Right. Um. Well, my parents, um, they kind of they were engaged to get married, but my mom found out she was pregnant, so they kind of had to push the date up. And they were married in August of '72, and I was born in February of '73. So
Are they
there you
still
go.
married?
They married until they were married until the day my father died. My father died January 9th, 1993. So my parents
Okay.
were married for 20 years, I think.
Yeah.
19, 20 years.
Yeah. And when did you meet your husband and get married?
I met my husband 2 weeks after my 18th birthday, and we had just gotten back from a family trip in North Carolina to see my grandmother. My dad had ordered a pizza and sent me and my sisters. Well, back then it was the thing to go cruise the mall. Well, we get there and the pizza's not ready to be picked up, so we go cruise the mall. I hear this horn beep at me, and my sister said, "I double dog dare you to go see what they want." Can't turn down a double dog dare from your sister.
No,
I pull up
you
and I
can't.
looked at him and I said, "You beeped. What do you want?" And so we started, we started talking, and pretty much the rest is history.
Now, how long have you been married?
Well, August of this year will be 31 years.
So, like I said, between the two of us, what is that? 57 years of marriage between the two of us. Well, four of us, because we have to include our partners, obviously. I mean, we have to, don't we, Meg?
Mm, I guess.
She had to think about that one for a while, guys. So, I don't know about you, but for me, in the beginning, I always had five standards that I learned. Now, Tim wasn't my first marriage, like you. I mean, yours, he was your first and only. I did have been married before, and it was only 5 years and stuff. And I was married twice before. Both of them, one was five, one was six. And I got married young at 16 to escape a rough home, and thought it was forever. But at 16, you change, especially when they're older. But I decided when I wasn't even looking to be married a third time. I was done. I figured the old adage, three strikes, you be out. I already had two. Wasn't going to chance it. Just going to have fun and be for me and the kids. Well, I said if I ever do get in a relationship, I had five standards. And for me, the only thing that I was going to build a relationship on again was going to be communication, trust, uh, a good sex life, respect, and honesty. Because without any of those five key things, in my opinion, I had seen that they failed in the past relationships. If I was missing any one of those five, I didn't, it just didn't last. So, I didn't believe in forever. Did you believe in forever when you met your husband?
To be perfectly honest, I didn't believe in anything. I never even thought I'd get married and have kids because it just wasn't even in my thoughts. All I could think about was, going to school and getting an education and making something of myself. So when I
Yeah.
met him, it just like out of left field.
Yeah. See, for me, after my first marriage at 16, I stayed in school. I was not pregnant. I didn't have my first kid till I was 19, as everybody already knows. But I graduated high school and was enrolled in college. And it wasn't until I was in there that I realized I was pregnant. Didn't know I was close to 4.5 months, almost five. Um, but I also wanted a career in the military. I had been leading up all the way up. So I never had thoughts of being married either. But I got hit upside the head thinking it was love at 16. I was wrong. It wasn't until I was 27, and obviously, and Tim's first phrase to me is I understand you don't believe in forever, because he told me he fell in love at that first night, told all of his buddies. I didn't believe him. The buddies all told me, yes, he did. He told him right at the club when he said, that's going to be my wife. Um, but he always told me, if you don't believe in forever, it's okay. Because anytime you start to have doubt, just reach for my hand, and I'm going to hang on so tight that you're going to lose feeling in your hand, but you're not going to be able to let go and slip away. And he's kept true to that word for 26 years. So, you know, I guess I don't still believe in love at first sight. He does. And obviously it must have been because we're still together. And even when we start to notice one of the five, because after 25 years, 20 years, you think you know everything. But as you start going and, you do develop outside interest. Where I had the baby, Tim was on YouTube. And I noticed that sometimes, hold on, a UPS truck. I'm going to mute, Meg. You tell your story for a minute.
Okay. Um, I don't know if anybody can hear me or not because I live out in the middle of nowhere and my phone is a piece of crap. But yeah, I met my husband 2 weeks after my 18th birthday, and 3 months after we started dating, he asked me to marry him, and I was like, "What? Are you crazy?" But I was so in love, I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." Well, we dated for about a year, and then we got married afterwards. And I had planned a wedding and everything, and picked out my dress and all that fun stuff. And he had taken a trip with his mom to Kentucky to go visit some family, and he had a talk with his cousin. And he came back and he was like, "Let's get married now." And I was like, "What? Are you crazy?" He's like, "Nah, let's do it." And I said, "Well, okay." Well, that was a Sunday. Monday, he picked me up from work and we went down to the courthouse and had to apply for our marriage certificate. And you have to wait 24 hours. So we waited the 24 hours. And he picked me up from work on a Wednesday and we went straight to the courthouse to pick up the license. And the clerk of court asked us, she said, "Well, do y'all have a date?" And we were like, "No, not really." She said, "Well, what about now?" We looked at each other and we were like, "Well, sure, why not?" So she takes us back to the judge's chambers, and it was oh gosh, probate judge. And he said, "Well, y'all want to go ahead and do this now?" And we are like, "Okay." Well, 10 minutes later, we're husband and wife. And I was like shocked. It took me 2 weeks to tell my dad because I was so scared of my dad. I was daddy's little girl, and I was so scared to disappoint my dad. And 2 weeks later, I was like, okay, I got to tell him. He was taking a nap, and I went into his room and sat on the end of his bed. And I said, "Daddy, I need you to wake up. I got to tell you something." And he was like, "What's that, honey?" I said, Jamie and I got married." That man got up so quick out of his bed. He said, "Well, I'll be damned. I was hoping you'd tell me you were pregnant, but good God." He hollered for him. He hollered for Jamie, and Jamie come walking down the steps. And Daddy stuck his hand out and shook Jamie's hand, and he said, "I give you my condolences, son. She's your problem now." So I was like, "Great. Thanks, Dad." But I mean, it hasn't been easy. It hasn't always been fun. And there were days where I didn't know if it was worth it or not, but sitting back and looking at my grandchild, it was worth it. And would I do it again? Yes. Are there things I would change? Of course. But I know the man loves me and he knows I love him, and that's all that matters.
And for me, you know what? Um, I guess what I was used to being so young is when things get hard, most people just duck and run, you know? And it was through Tim that I learned through what he would tell me is there's going to always be, he said, crest and valleys. You're going to be up and then you're going to plateau and then you're going to go down. It'll be level times. They'll be good, they'll be bad. Some will be okay and some are going to be really bad. You're going to want to hit me. You're going to want to scream at me. You're going to want to F me. He says, but all in all, you'll always know that I love you and you'll love me. And he was right. And I still, it was funny. He was playing that Outlaw Nation concert footage the other day, about a
Hmm.
week or two ago. And what's funny is even with all the changes because of him being hurt in Iraq and everything, when he was filming and it's panned over to him where Mikey D got a glimpse of him, I literally still got the butterflies when I saw him. I
Aw.
still I still look at him and I still see what I saw 26 years ago. That I know that even as bad as it can get, we scream at each other. We're going to disagree. Am I going to want to put my hands on him? Yes, I'm sure he's wanted to put his hands on me a couple times too. And I would still take this journey through life with him 100%. And I'm not going anywhere. So he's my ride or die. I've proved it many times over. He's proved it with me, and never once have I ever had the urge to even cheat on him because he completes me. He's all I definitely need. So ours was a different relationship than what yours was. We did still date over a year, but ours was more long distance. And he would come down every weekend, a 10 hour. He'd get off at 5, 6 p.m., drive 10 hours to Fort Knox where I was at, get in about 3 in the morning and turn around by noon, 1 o'clock on Sunday and have to head right back out. And then I would get off on Fridays and I would scoop up the kids and I would go up 1 week in a month because he didn't want me to drive so far with the kids so often. And
Right.
that's how we did that for mm, a good 8 months. So, and we met by
Wow.
accident because I went out, me and my ex, we decided to go out as friends and we went to a club. We had the kids, but out of the blue, our neighbors were having a birthday party. So we decided to go to a club. We never had gone to a club since we had gotten married. So there was a NCO club on post. And I guess Tim had been there that Friday night. He wasn't going to go out, but his friends talked him into it. And my ex talked me into it. And when I walked into the club, he was sitting at the bar. And I told my ex at that moment, I knew who I was going home with that night. Just like that. So, but he was supposed to be my one night stand. He was telling his friends I was his future wife. And he's been a grade A clinger since then. Hey, Ginger. Hey,
You threw
Victoria.
it on him.
I guess so. So, but yeah. And, if you, if you cut and run the times that are hard, and you don't make yourself find a way to get through that in the early days, then you're never going to have that long term because anybody who thinks that the honeymoon stage means it's all about being on a honeymoon, yeah, you're dumb and crazy because that's that growing pain year where you're having to learn, does he leave the seat up? Are you going to fall through the seat when you go to sit down in the early mornings? Does he leave the cap off the toothpaste? Does he leave the soap soggy wet on the container? Or if you use body gel, does he use it all? I mean, you never know what you're going to get when you actually move in with each other. So I decided after being just married and then moving in with my ex, this one I was going to live with first. So I learned all the nitty gritties, and he learned all the nitty gritties about me before we got married. And I think that's what I've encouraged my kids to do. Never marry as a virgin, because what if the guy is like a few other members in our community that are itty bitty, or what if they're so big that they hurt them? Or what if they're abusive, or they're really a dead cold fish? You want them to be able to have that foundation to know what they want and what they like in order to share with their partner to grow. So, Meg, did your mom ever give you
You all
advice?
been together for no,
Did your mom ever give you advice on maybe trials to put any future boyfriend through if you were thinking about marriage material? Did she ever like say, you know what, you should do this?
no.
Or did you ever give your daughters any advice or sons?
I didn't have a very close relationship with my mom, and I had a very weird relationship. Um, it's
Well, I gave my daughter, and I always give all my other daughters, whether they've worked with me or they've worked with Tim or they were in the schools with and they were friends of my kids and they got older and they'd come to me for advice and they're like, "Oh, I'm thinking about getting married. This is the one." So I always gave these advice. And it was is I'm an independent person. I like to open my own car door. But when the weather's bad or something, I would tell them, see if they come and open the door and take care of you and make sure you're out of the bad weather first. Even though you're independent, you want to open your own door like I do. See if they're still at least willing to open that door for you in the beginning. Or um, even if you're not, there's certain times, a certain time of the month, some men are too immature to handle that, but see if they're mature enough. Tell them, I think I'm starting. I need you to go buy me some stuff. If they're willing to go in, it doesn't matter if they buy out the whole grocery store. If they're not willing or mature enough to go in and buy sanitation or sanitary napkins for you or a tampon, they're not mature enough to be able to handle a relationship. If you're making love and you tell them, hey, can you go a little to the left or can you do this? And they don't just slide right into what you, the change without look stopping and making a big ordeal and making you feel that they're not good enough or that what you're asking is too much trouble, dump that zero because you need a hero. So, did you ever give advice like to your sons about anything like that?
No, not really.
Did your husband ever talk to the boys
Um,
about what type to run from a woman if she acted a certain way?
I'm sure he did. Um, Whenever he had the dad talk with our boys, it was always without Mama being around. I
Uh,
guess because he didn't want me to say, "Don't tell them that." Don't no, don't tell them that. um, my boys, they're Mama's boys. I mean, they're 28 and 26, and they're Mama's boys. My oldest is he's married and has a little boy that's 3, and he loves my daughter-in-law. I mean, there's no doubts in my mind that he loves her, and she loves him. And I think that watching my husband and I as they were growing up kind of helped them a lot because we never fought in front of them. Yeah, we would raise our voices sometimes, but if we felt like we were going to have a knockdown drag out, we would, wait for they went to bed, or we'd say, "Mom and Daddy, be right back." We'd go to our room and we'd, go ahead and have words. But we never fought in front of them. Um,
so wait a minute. For a long-lasting relationship, it's actually healthy to yell and scream at one another.
are you kidding me? If I didn't yell and
Who
scream at him, and if he didn't yell and scream at me, I would think we were crazy.
who would have thunk that's not a form of communication? Oh my God, who would have thunk that? Probably people that aren't in a long-term relationship. I hate
I
to
mean, if
admit
if
it
I don't
costs
yell and scream, sometimes I will go nuts.
exactly. And that's a form of communication. Sometimes you just got to let somebody know. And what's funny is, I think that's our whole community's actual catchphrase, isn't it? Sometimes you just got to let them know.
That's
And
right.
friendship, and as well as a relationship. See, we were the opposite. We fought in front of the kids because we wanted them to see that it was healthy. It's normal to be in love and still have an argument. You're not always got to be on the same page. All right, I'm talking, writer. Glass. There they're going to go again. But we wanted them to see that it's okay. It, you can fight. You can, excuse me, you can have a disagreement and still love each other and not run. It doesn't mean you've got to get a divorce, that you're not going to. So, hey, Jeffrey, no, it's not Mel. She's sick. So, Meg has graciously blessed us with her appearance tonight as a co host for me. But we wanted them to see that it's normal, that if you're not fighting, maybe you're not really expressing yourself. Because if you think that that other person that you're with isn't going to piss you off and you're not going to want to just strangle them sometimes, then you're really not fully engaged in that relationship, because it's not all about the sweet romantic gestures of dating where you're going to go on these sweet dates, because you're in a pressure cooker. You have jobs. You're going to have bills to pay. You're going to have kids to raise. And even if you don't have kids, you still got outside influences from jobs and the pressure cookers of responsibilities and deadlines and whatever else that are coming at you. And if you can't share and trust that your partner can be that sounding board no matter what, you know what I mean? So,
Right.
and are you and
Well,
your husband
I
like for me and Tim, when we fight, he has to walk away and cool down. I'm like, we're going to do this right now. We're going to go right now because I need it off my chest. And he's like, just give me 5 minutes to cool. No, no, we're doing it now. Are you guys the same, or do you guys separate too in that?
No, we are pretty much the same. I have to walk away, and he has to deal with it right then and there. Um, if I don't walk away, I end up being a complete and total emotional mess and just start crying because I'm just really an emotional person. I'm a Pisces to a T, and I I will cry at the drop of a hat. So yeah, I have to walk away, and he will sit there and stomp his feet and act like a 2 year old until I face it up, face everything, and we hash it out. But I don't know, it's just weird
See, we're
to
we're
say.
both
I guess I don't.
he's Sagittarius, I'm Cancer, so we're like bulls in a china shop.
Mm,
But if he didn't walk away, then and to take that minute to calm down, he's like we would both be screaming at like the police would be called, the neighbors would think we'd probably the neighbors would think there was an earthquake just underneath our house, and the foundation would just crumble because the bulls, we would just be going at it, not physically, everybody in the back, the haters in the back, but verbally. So I had to learn to give him, hey Stony, to walk that, to let him walk away. But it took me a long time because even though we've been together 26 years, there's still times where I'm like following him and like poking and poking and poking because I want that immediate reaction. Because Tim is more the type that if I didn't in the beginning, because of the way he was saw from his parents, it was like if he just ignores the confrontation and walks away, then and goes to sleep, sleeps on it, gets up and rolls over in the morning and says, "Hey, babe, good morning. I love you." He doesn't understand why I'm still like at 1,000 because he fell asleep from the night before and I didn't get it off my chest. And he just thought it's over because it's a new day. I had to train him. It's never over until you participate and we communicate one way or another. One of us yelling, one of us standing there taking it, one of us admitting we're wrong. And sometimes you don't even have to admit you're wrong. Just listen, you know?
right, and communication is a key, big key. I mean, if you can't communicate, then there's no point in even trying to make the relationship work.
Yep. And there
I
is
mean,
several,
there's no two ways around that.
nope. And do you agree there's different forms of communication? There's yelling,
Oh,
there's
most
talking, there's
definitely,
writing a note. You can put your feelings in a note, a poem, you can in a card. You mess up and you just give them a simple card.
most
One
definitely.
day,
I mean,
Tim brought me a card with a man sitting in a doghouse. That's all it was a postcard with a man in a doghouse. That let me know he knew he was wrong. And that's all it took. I started laughing and it was fine. But how do you guys communicate for yours?
oh, we're big smokers, so we will sit down and we'll smoke and we'll talk. So I guess I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. His parents were married until they both passed away, and then of course my parents were both still married until they were passed away. And we, I guess, came from this generation: if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and if it's broke and worth it, fix it. And my parents had kind of a rocky marriage, but they made it work. And no marriage is perfect. You're always going to have arguments. You're always going to have disagreements. But if it's worth fighting for, fight for it. And of course, there's going to be times where you have to sit and think, oh, well, is it worth it? Of course it is, especially if you have children involved. But don't stay together just because you have the children, because children can sense things that we don't think about. They can tell if mommy and daddy are happy. They can tell, if there's issues. and it does affect them.
Yep.
But it's just I don't know. It's kind of it's weird for me to talk about and kind of hard for me to talk about in the same sense. I don't if that makes any sense.
Well, it is a hard because marriages are personal for a lot of people, and a lot of people actually have doubts. And that was one of the reasons that I like to bring up subjects that are kind of they used to be taboo or they are a little sensitive for some people to talk about because we're all thinking different lines along the same theories and stuff. But you know, feelings, we're all individuals, we all have different thoughts, different feelings, different ideals and goals, but you can have that and be two individuals who come together and it can work and never stay together just because there's kids involved, because you are right, Meg, children can see when you're unhappy. You might stay together for 30 or 40 years, but is that how you wanted to live your life, is 30 or 40 years when you could actually be living it and being happy so that your kids see what being happy is about, or that this is all that there is so that they get a bad taste? So you got to think about that too. You've got to outweigh the positives and the negatives. And I always say, well, Tim used to always say it, and now I'm a firm believer of it, is always write out the pros and cons. Before anything, do your pros and your cons. If the cons ever outweigh the pros, you've got your answer. And not just in a marriage or a relationship, but on almost every part of your life. That's a good way to handle it. Yes, Mike, you're right. And a lot of people don't understand when they're like, oh, couples who feel like murdering each other or they yell at each other, they scream, that's domestic violence. No, these are people that are probably haven't been in a long term
No,
relationship, because you're going to have those moments and it's okay. I was just reading some of the chat, Meg. So, see, I got married at 16
well, I'll
for a
say,
similar
if
situation. You are not communicating through your phone very well right now, Meg.
can you hear me?
Yep, now you're back.
Okay. I have a PS phone and I live in BC.
For those who don't
We have
know,
a
Meg
hard
lives
time
way out in the boonies.
getting cell
Ryder,
service.
go.
I live in a little town in South Carolina that if you spit on the map, you will miss it.
So if you guys didn't catch that, she lives in the middle of nowhere. So service is not very good. It's like spotty. It's like depending on how she spits and the wind whips it around, it could knock out her phone service or her internet at any given moment. So, but who better to talk about marriage than people who have actually been in long term marriages? Now, not saying that you have to be married. If you're in a relationship, and I mean, perfect example, Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, been together, what, 40 years? Never been married, have children together. My five rules, Susie, are communication, respect, trust, uh, a healthy sex life, and respect. I think those, I didn't say that twice. Hey, Iron Horse, how you doing? I can't remember if I said it right. Let's see.
I
Respect,
just read that
trust.
on it.
Oh, faithfulness. I'm sorry. It was faithfulness. Because you know what? If you can't stay faithful, then you're obviously not with the right person. Because if you're attracted to everybody who catches your eye, that tells you you're with the wrong person. So instead of keep trying, yes, maybe once was a mistake, but Another rule that I've learned is I don't go to other men to tell what my husband's doing wrong, because that other man can listen and be like, okay, I can play that hero. I would never do that to you. That's what happens is you get that sympathy outside, and maybe in your anger you do something that you regret, and by then you've already violated or broken that trust that that other person put into you or gave you willingly, openly. You know what I mean? So I make sure that I don't ever talk privately to other men ever in 26 years about something that Tim has done, to the point where, like, now I'll be like, oh, Tim can't keep his mouth shut. He's always, every time I tell him something, he's got to blab it. But they know exactly why. And Tim knows who I'm talking to at all given times. So just like I know, I always knew about Meg and Lacey and Amy and Holly all talking to Tim. Now I do know that it was never like without my knowledge that they were talking. Did he ever share some if they had anything that they didn't want put out? Everybody knows we're a pair. If somebody tells me something, they can bet that I am going to share it with Tim, but Tim's going to respect me and not put it out there. Vice versa. If somebody tells Tim something, we're a pair. Anybody has any doubts that we are going to communicate, then that's an issue. But just like our friends, if one of us does something bad or wrong and you're hurt by it or you don't understand it, coming to me, I'm going to go to Tim about it, and vice versa. Just like I want them to come to me if I did something wrong, and vice versa. And Meg, I mean, I don't know about you, but I have never gone to another man about anything in my marriage that Tim has done to me.
I his best friend. Um, when I married Jamie, his best friend came along with it. It was kind of like a package deal, kind of like a stepkid thing. Um, James and I had a love hate relationship. We loved to hate each other and we hated to love each other. Um, I went to him a couple of times and like, look, can you please talk to him about such and such, or something like that. But that was it, you know.
So it was never in confidence where he could use it to try to come on to you, or that you were looking for affection from another man. You wanted
Right,
him to be, because sometimes
right.
having another man talk to a man is better, or going to a spouse or a friend to talk to your spouse, because if they're not listening to you. So, okay, I get what you're saying. Okay. Hey, Lacey, you did. Hey, Kathy.
Yeah, it's and we lost his best friend a year ago, and it's kind of put a little bit of a strain on us because he misses him dearly. I mean, they were best friends for over 30 years. That was like his brother. And like I said, we had a love hate relationship. He was kind of like a brother to me too. And it's kind of put a strain on everything because I miss him, he misses him, and it's just weird to not have him around.
It was almost like there were three of you kind of in that relationship, though.
Exactly.
And it worked for you guys, for your situation.
It did. It did. I mean, that was Uncle James to our kids.
Now, that
And they
doesn't
took
work
it
for
pretty hard
everybody.
when he no, no, it doesn't. I mean, everybody's relationship is different. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm not a smart ass husband every day, then he's gonna think something's wrong with me.
Yeah. And see, for me, I never uh, have asked anybody to go to Tim for marriage stuff. Now, if he's doing something that I don't like or something, or I'll be like, Dan, will you talk to Tim? And maybe he'll listen, or Joe, he'll listen to you guys, or Mikey. Go talk to Tim because he doesn't want to listen to what I'm saying because he knows it all. Because I've only been on YouTube for 6 months. He's been on it for 3 years. So he's the goat. I'm just the beginner. You know what I mean? Where they have been there with, and I'm going to kill these dogs.
Mhm.
You give these dogs a doggy door. Any other time, you can't keep them in the house except for when you don't need them. Well, hey, demon sister, how's it going? So, um, but I have never been one. I would be really upset if Tim ever went and told anybody, I don't care how good of a friend it is, about our marriage problem. Because I'm sorry, men and women, it, I'm going to say it, women, when they're single and they see a man that's willing to commit, some of these younger, they want a man who wants to commit. They don't want to be alone. They want that easy life. They think it's easy. All they're thinking is like, man, I wish I had a man. And don't think they wouldn't listen and try to use that to get in with your husband and vice versa. There are guys out there, I worked too hard for what I built with Tim that I'm sorry. Even if something happened to him, I couldn't see. I see all these older women going with younger men. I'm sorry. Uh, these younger men ain't been what I've been through with him. They're not getting what we built up together and getting a free ride. And I have nothing in common. So I, for one, would never go any younger than I did, which was 5 months. I am older than Tim, but I don't believe in going any younger. Well, maybe a year, but never 15, 10, 5 years. No, you like younger men? If something ever happened and to you and your husband, to your husband, would you ever date a young man? She's got that Obama phone slash Biden phone, guys. Meg, did you get reconnected? You're right, Lacey. Tim don't
My
listen to
phone
nobody.
is being a butt.
It's okay. You're back now.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Well, we did. Well, we knew it was going to be a rough connection, but I thought, who else would you guys really respect and admire to talk about relationships for the long term? Because neither one of us are counselors. I have a college degree, but it's not in, you know, counseling like Mel is or anything like that. So, all right, let me remove the old one. Oop, I'm going to kick this one and bring this one back up. You back?
I'm hoping to.
You having bad weather or something?
No, I think my being a bitch.
Okay. Well, I don't mean you guys can't date them or use their bodies. I'm just saying I would never marry and support them and give them mine and Tim's hard earned money that we built together. And besides, other than a young body, for the physical pleasure, once Tim was gone and wasn't there to be with me, this guy would only be useful for that because we'd have nothing else in common. So that's all I was saying. So, but like I said, marriages, men and women, it's like a smorgasbord. There's some you throw all you have to do is spit and you're going to land on something different. It's a giant buffet. Marriage isn't for everybody. Long-term relationships aren't for everybody. But if you are in a long-term relationship or a marriage, you've got to find your code, your standards that you need, that you hold on to, and that you say, this is what I need. And at any time I lose one or more of these items, then I know I'm just cheating myself by sticking around. And like Megan, we both agree you don't stick around for just kids. You don't stick around because it's financially easy for you. Because you know what? You're going to find that strength. You're going to find that way to overcome anything you put your mind to it. And for you younger women, let's be real. I got married at 16, got divorced at 20. I had a baby. You know what I did? I joined the military. There's other options for you to do. Get a factory job. There's all kinds of things. You don't have to be dependent because when you find out that you can make it on your own, you're bringing that confidence, that love of self to a relationship that will make that relationship last. And Meg, I don't know about you. Are you back?
I'm hoping to be.
You okay? So I have a question for you.
I'm telling you, I don't know what the heck is wrong today, but my phone is
Do
just
Have
not
you
being nice.
noticed that you and
Okay.
your husband don't have everything in common?
Yes,
What's your percentage? Would
we
you
don't.
say 50%,
And of course,
10?
over time, people change. And like I said, we've been together since we're 19 years old.
What percentage of you are different?
I say 10, maybe
There's about, okay.
about 5%. About 5%. Yeah. See,
Wow,
I'm
that's
a
it.
big, huge college football fan. My husband can care less.
I'd say me and Tim are about 75% the
And I'm
same.
roboting
And
again, and my phone is being a butt.
we can hear you. You're doing good, Meg. Don't worry about
Okay.
your phone. As many times as you need to pop in and out, we got you. So don't worry about it.
Okay.
Me and Tim are about a 75-25%, same in difference. Like he likes sports. He likes golf. Um, he likes, well, his music taste is a little bit different than mine. We have some similar tastes, but as much difference as we do alike. Where for me, oh, and he hates reading and he hates to spell. Anytime that he has to spell, he's just Lori. But it works for us because it's okay to have separate likes and dislikes because it gives us something to talk about. Not that that's the only thing, but what I'm saying is if you're always in agreement and you always like and do the same thing all the time, you know what I mean? That can get a little stale and vanilla after 20, 30 years together. But he gets to come home, he gets to tell me about the different aspects of his job or when he went golfing, or I can tell him about a good book or a movie that I watched, or if I like horror movies, he likes action movies. So sometimes we meet in the middle with a little bit of both. Hey, Nightmare. Hey, Creek Squad. So everything is different, and that adds that spice. Anything, Meg? I know she's frustrating herself, guys, and she
Right.
does. I hear you. You're back. Don't let it get to you, Meg. You're doing fine. Don't feel frustrated. But is there anybody out there who would like to come up and talk about what their relationship is like for a minute? Hop up for a minute. What's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, and then we'll have you hop down and other people can come up. I will put it in the chat. Um, let my Meg help with her phone, but it's there. Um, it is just to hop up, tell your story or what anything, any questions that you have of us, and we'll do it that way. But
Otherwise, this phone's going to start
it's she's gonna get so
acting
mad
up.
she's gonna throw her phone at the wall. Meg, what's your one good advice, piece of advice that you've learned in over 30 years of marriage that you would want somebody just starting out to know?
Don't bet. Can you hear me?
We got don't expect, and that's all we
Damn
heard.
phone.
Don't expect good cell phone service all the time.
Don't go to bed angry with each other.
That's that is definitely something that we live by too. And the times that we don't, like I said, he'd roll over to say good morning, and I'm still hot, and I probably didn't even sleep. I'm just glaring at him, and he rolls over and he's like, "Hey, babe," it's like, "Don't touch me." What? So, and I saw in the chat a lot of people have that same advice. Mine is don't put expectations on your partner that you yourself can't meet. Nobody is 100% perfect.
No, not at all.
They're going to say the wrong thing. They're going to do the wrong thing. They're going to have little things that just get on your nerves. But the longer you're together, the worse those little things that were kind of cute in the very beginning, a little annoying over the years, have blown into like, oh, if you do that one more time, I swear to God, that just drives you crazy. Just go with it. If you expect it and you concentrate on the little stuff, you're going to miss the overall that guess what? You roll over and he's still or she's still right there next to you. Still has had your back all those years. So that's my key point. Put your key points of your advice that you would pass down to a daughter or a son in the chat. We'd love to hear what yours are. Who put that in the chat, Victoria? I missed that. I'm sorry. It must be Jeffrey. So, Stony, oh, you thought that Meg was saying don't spit it out, just swallow. But that does bring me to something that, you know what? Sometimes in a relationship, you might be asked to do something that maybe you don't agree with or you're not comfortable with or you don't like. And I'm not talking. Stop it. Then you. Good outside. And I'm not talking about nasty stuff, but I mean, like, you might be told, hey, can you put on a suit or a dress for me? I want to go to this ball. I've got to have this meeting. And these dogs, I swear, some person's walking their dog outside and decides to stop in front of my house. Give me a minute. Instead of going outside, they're free to go. They've got the freedom to do whatever they want. The whole yard is for them to play. But um, sometimes it might help for if your partner likes to play golf, go play a game of golf with them. Or they might like to walk in the evenings and you're tired when you get home from work. You know what? Sometimes just holding their hand and going around that block for a walk can ease their bad day. So sometimes you should be willing to give a little. when you get so much from that person that you expect or you want or that they just give you every day. So be prepared to give some back, and it should always be a 50-50. Give to get. That's definitely one thing in all aspects of your marriage, including in the bedroom. You got to give in order if you're expecting anything back. Right, Meg?
That's right. I grabbed my husband's phone. He has better service. I don't know if you can hear me
Yeah.
or not.
Oh, you are crystal clear.
Okay, good. Yeah, he's got a good phone with a good phone plan. I just have one of those little cheap old Straight Talk phones, which is all I need, really.
Exactly. I used to only have the cheap phone too, and he used to get mad at me because I couldn't do anything. And as soon as he get home, it's like, "Give me your phone. I want to get online with you." And he's like, "That's it. You need a good phone." I was like, "No, I don't. I only use it to take pictures and to text and anytime I don't have the baby with me." And he's like, "Nope, that's enough." So, so now you need to go get yourself a better phone. So, hey, Maria, I was telling him that sometimes you should be willing to give in order to receive. And I didn't mean that in the nasty sense, though, in that sense, too, in the bedroom, in a relationship, you should be able to get to give in order to receive something that you like.
Right. I mean, it's give and take.
Yep. So, and a healthy sex life, that to me, you have to have a good, healthy sex life. But out of the top five, it is not like the number two, one or number two spot because as you do get older, or let's say your job, you travel a lot. If you're holding on, hey Lori, if you're holding on to it being that's got to be most important, and they come home from work and they're tired, and you don't get that, and that's what you expect, and you start thinking, oh, you just aren't finding me attractive, or oh, what's going on? You could lose that good woman or good man too. And what would
Right.
you
It's
say?
it's not always about sex. It can't be about sex because
Yep. What would you say
oh come
is
on, phone.
you're doing fine, Meg? You're here. Are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep. So I never lost you except for when you got quiet for me. I have a question for you, Meg. What would you say if somebody would always accuse you of something would be your deal breaker for you that would just like drive a wedge between you and him?
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite understand that.
Okay, like for me, um if I'm in a relationship and every time I didn't hear what they said or I wasn't in the mood or I was tired and I got cute, well, why? Are you cheating on me? Did you cheat? What's that? Who texted you? Are you cheating? That to me is a sign of insecurity and a sign that this person's not as confident in themselves. That would be a deal breaker to me in any relationship. What about you? What would you consider uh, a sign that a
Y-
partner,
yeah, that would be a deal breaker for me. That would be a deal breaker for me, and to me, that's kind of a sign of a guilty conscience. Um, because I found, you know, even before I got married, the accuser is usually the one that's doing it.
or being called a liar,
So
you're
I mean,
always
you
being
you
told,
keep accusing me, and right, if I'm gonna lie, I'm gonna lie, and I'm gonna make sure it's a damn good one. But
or
I'm
you're
not gonna have
always,
you stand there and point your finger and call me a liar when I'm not a liar.
yeah. If you have that doubt, that much doubt about the person you're with, and they haven't even given you anything, like they're 5 minutes or a half hour late home from work, and right off the bat, your mind goes to their cheating. Either one, they've given you reason to believe that, so why are you still there? Or two, you're insecure, or it's happened in the past, or you're guilty of it in the past or present, and you're transferring. And that's still another sign that you are not where you need to be. So, and not just a
Exactly.
guilty.
If my husband's late coming home,
Go ahead, Meg.
but if my husband's late coming home from work, my first thought is, "Oh my God, is he okay?"
Yeah. Mine
I
is,
mean,
I'm
I don't think
wondering,
about, "Oh, well, he's out screwing around."
mine is, was he in a car accident? Especially if I call and I can't get a hold of him, or he must be got stuck in a meeting that's ran late because it's not like him because he usually this man has always been able to set his my I could set my watch to him. If we have something, he's there 10 he's always late getting started, or like if he knows we're going on vacation, he'll be there on time. We just never get out of the driveway on time with him. He's here to go live and he's at his desk, but he gets distracted and he's just not starting on time. But on a whole, you can count what he's doing, and there's a reason why he's late for whatever the reason. And I'm sure even for him, if I was late, his first mind is I hope she's okay. But it's not 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late. We're talking like the other night, he didn't get home till 7:30. I tried to call him 3 times. When I realized how late it was, I didn't get an answer. So my thought is like, God, I hope there wasn't an accident. I hope he's okay. Never once have I ever went to, oh, why do you have to go into work early today? Or why is he working late tonight? Or wait a minute, so they're sending you to another city for a briefing for the day? Never once have I ever had to question that. And just for him, as many times as he's been deployed, he's never had to worry. I mean, think about just being distracted and thinking that I would be back here in the rear cheating on him while he's fighting. He never once ever doubted that I was faithful. And my son had once told him, Mom won't eat, Mom's making us learn how to fix things because she won't even let the repairmen in. You're damn right. When my man ain't here, I ain't gonna let some repairman come in to my house so that some nosy neighbor can just assume something without understanding. So you get very skilled at fixing stuff on your own. So, hey, Jesse and Marcus, everybody who
Oh,
just came
most
in.
definitely.
Um, Now, everybody has a pet peeve. I don't know if you guys want to put a pet peeve that a relationship can be your pet peeve, but in any relationship, past or even present, Meg, what is the one pet peeve that a person can do that just like, it's like nails on a chalkboard to you? And it can be funny for most people, but for you, it just kind of like nails on a chalkboard.
The way they treat their parents.
Okay.
If they treat their parents like crap, I don't want to be around them. I don't want nothing, anything to do with them.
So basically, a man who treats his woman or his mother like shit will treat his wife like shit.
Yes.
I've heard that many, many times. And if they treat their mother like a queen, not his queen, but a queen, that is definitely something to respect. Now, if he's a mama's boy, like all the way, and she's his number one lady, once you're on the picture, ladies run, 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 run. Because, yeah, if you haven't watched that show, Mama's Boy, on TV, that series, yeah. So if he respects and honors his mother, he'll respect and honor you. But she should be his most important person until he's with you. And then you should become his queen, and vice versa. Your father should be your everything, but if you're man, you're with the right man. Your daddy is always going to be your dad, but this is the man who's going to be your everything, your best friend. Tim is still my best friend today, and he didn't start off my best friend. Hey, MMC, my ex was my best friend still, and Tim knew that, but I was in love with Tim. I was just friends. He was just my best friend. Hey, Lucas, how you doing? So but Tim, eventually, it wasn't long, and he did become my best friend, not only as my husband and my lover and my kid's father, but everything. So, do you find that your husband is the your best friend, and you know your king per se? I mean, not the king
Oh,
like because
yes,
God's
definitely.
in your house. I mean, God always is the king, but you know,
Yeah, he's my best friend, and I'm his best friend, I think. There's days I'm sure where he's like, what is wrong with this woman? But
well,
he's most definitely my best friend. I can talk to him about anything and not be ashamed or shy or anything like that. And I mean, so of course, if I talk to him about something crazy, he'll look at me like, "What the hell is wrong with you?"
and that's the thing too. That's a good topic or a good point. Is you should be able to give to bear your heart out to that person, no matter how dumb or stupid you think it is or what the outside would judge you. You should be able to feel safe sharing anything with that person. And if you feel you have to hide something from of yourself from this person, that's another clue.
Yeah, I mean, we talk to each other about anything and everything, and I mean, we even pick around with each other. And I'm like, "Boy, you stink. Go wash your nasty ass." Oh, well, you stink too. Go wash yours. I
Yep.
mean, it's if we don't pick on each other at least 5 times a day, then we know something is wrong with with the other one. And I guess it's because we basically, in my mind, we kind of grew up together. Those informative years when everybody's going to college and learning who they are. We were already married and having children, so
Well, you were
it's
still learning how what you guys were, just in a different
right,
capacity.
exactly. And instead of being out and going to the bar and getting drunk with all of our college buddies and living the life, we're creating our own life. And I wouldn't change it. I really wouldn't.
Is there when did you in the stage of your relationship, your marriage, when did you find that you weren't embarrassed for the stupidest things to do in front of him, such as use the bathroom, fart, burp, pig out? You know how some women are afraid to eat in front of their boyfriends or their when they're first married and stuff. When did you find that all those silly embarrassments all went away?
Gosh, probably about 2 weeks after we started dating.
Oh, that was fast. So you guys were using the bathroom in front of each other as dating?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the oldest of four, and I've got two little brothers. And as a teenager and having like a 4-year-old little brother and a 2-year-old little brother running around the house trying to use the bathroom by yourself, not going to work. So, yeah, I guess it's just because of the way my family was. I guess I don't. I just felt really comfortable in front of him.
That's good that you were that comfortable so fast in the relationship. Tim was that way too. For me, it took me a good couple months. And we still keep things, even after we've been married so long. I don't know about you, but there are certain things that I still won't do in front of him. Like, I might use the bathroom and I'll call him in to talk to him because we were in a conversation. I got to run to use the bathroom, but I don't do like wash myself in front of him. I don't wipe in front of him. It's like, hey, turn around, or something like that. There's still certain things, but you don't want to take and like put those images. I don't want to see him washing his ass either. You know what I mean? Takes the mystique out of it. you know,
Yeah,
there's some things you don't want to see that you can't undo, but he wants to fart. You want to stand up and take a pee in front of me, let it all hang out. I don't care. You know what I mean? But there's got to be a little mystique still, just a little. So, because you never want him, he teases that he never knows what's going to come out of my mouth. Even to this day, he still, it's like, oh, I was thought you were going to say something else. He says, you got me there. Exactly. Because if you get to the point where you know exactly what they're thinking, what they're going to say, how they're feeling, that can get, that means you're stuck in a rut. You always got to keep each other a little guessing, not the bad guessing, like they're late, who they out with tonight. But no, it's like, oh, what? Like he'll show up out of the clear blue. He knows I hate flowers, but he'll come in and he'll bring some wildflowers that he saw blooming on the side of the road. He'll just stop randomly and pick them up. Or just a single rose. He bought a cup of coffee and, my favorite donut. And he'll go and he'll buy some, like, joking. I told him to better not come home without my White Castles. He goes, buys a cooler, the Ziploc baggies, everything, gets them, and not just brings me a couple, he brings me a couple cases. It's stuff like that. Like Joe says, got to wonder if she'll escape the attic. Stuff like that. You got to keep a little mystique and a little wonder in your relationship so that it's still every once in a while you shock that person or not shock but surprise that person, and it's like I said, you see him every day. I see him every single day for 26 years, but then out of the blue I saw him through a lens from somebody else's point of view. I swear to God, it's a person walking down the street. But I saw him through Mikey's D's camera, and it was like, oh, damn. And I got the butterflies all over again. It was just that somebody seeing him from another angle, from a different perspective, looking outside, looking in, you know what I mean? Instead of seeing
Hmm.
him inside every day. So he's still, he, you know, you don't see each other age because you're with each other every day too. But when you can see him out in an area where you're not and you're looking and you weren't expecting it, it was like, damn. Okay, I see you, Tim. I see you still. I get it, Joni. She said they're in awe of what I'm going to say or do to Tim next. You ever get those moments sometimes where he'll just be doing something and you'll catch him in the right light and you'll remember why 31 years ago he caught your eye? You there, Meg?
Oh, come on now, phone.
You're here. I hear you.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep. Is there some, have you ever
I
noticed that
think we might
after
be getting ready to have
31,
a storm.
have you, I'm looking out my window and we're not even in the same state. It's just, have you noticed though, there's times where he could do something and just a different tilt of his head or an angle, and it takes you back to when you first met him?
Yes. And what really gets me is watching him with our grandson. To see the love that he has for that little boy and the love that the little boy has for him, it reminds me of why I fell in love with him. I don't know. Once you have grandchildren, you see things so much differently. You see the world differently, and you know what real true love is
Yep.
because their children are innocent and they do the sweetest, cutest things at times.
And we were good parents, and Tim was a good father. But watching him with our grandson, he's even better. And I don't know if it's because he has more time with him or he's mellowed out, but it's true what they say. You tell your kids, no, bedtime's at 10 o'clock, no TV after this, no snacks, you're not jumping on the bed. And then when you have a grandkid, it's like, you want ice cream? I know it's midnight, but it's okay. I'll stay up till 5 a.m. with you. Here's some ice cream. Oh, you want this? You want to go to, you want all the toys off this shelf? Here, let's get them all for you. You've all seen how much Jackson has. My kids
Oh
were not
yeah.
that spoiled. It was like birthdays, holiday, or birthdays, Easter, and Christmas. You got the toys. You would get stuff throughout the year, of course, but Jackson gets to go every 2 weeks when we pick him up straight to Walmart's. He gets to pick, or we go to the mall, and it's like, what do you want, baby? And
Yeah,
I
and
just
that's like
sit at
when
home with him.
whenever Damien comes over, as soon as he walks in the door, you want a cookie? Nanny give you a cookie, baby. And they don't like let him eat in the bed. Sit on the bed and eat. Go sit on Nana's bed and watch cartoons. Nana give you another cookie.
Yep.
I mean, I'm just like, go ahead. He's my
I
reward for not killing my children as they were growing up.
And for having kids, exactly. See, we put waterproof mattress covers on all the beds in every room. So that way, and when he wants to lay in his bed and he's laying there and he's watching TV and he's got his tablet watching cartoons on here, his dinosaurs, and he's watching his cartoons on the TV. And yes, my grandson does have a 55-inch TV in his room mounted too. But when he's sitting there in the bed and he's watching the TV and his tablet, and I go and I get him uh, some strawberries or I get him his drinks, and he's like pointing and he takes it and he wants to lay him right on his bed. And I don't care if he even wipes his hand on his blanket or his sheet. And even though I've given him a napkin or say, here's your wet wipe, wash your hands, and he'll go, nope, and he just wipes him 2 minutes later. It's like, that's okay. When he gets up, I'll just strip the bed, remake it, and he can do it all over again. My kids would be like, are you effing kidding me? Get your butt to that bathroom and wash your damn hands right now and change your bed sheets.
Its rules are different when you have grandkids.
It is. Hey, nephew, how's it going? It is an MMC. I think I said hi to you, but I just want to make sure I covered that. Um, it is, and like I said, and I also think also is when you're having kids, you're having to work to make sure that you give them everything that they could possibly need. Um, by the time you have your grandkids, you're at a point where not only can you give them everything that you wanted to give to your kids, but you don't have to work as hard. And also, you can do whatever you want, and then they're going to go home to mommy or daddy.
Yes, and that's where my son has an issue. He's like, Mama, we don't let him do that at home. I'm like, well, he's not at
Yep,
home, is he?
that's right.
He's with Nana. He can do what he wants here.
Yep. And when my daughter comes over and she'll be like, you can't tell me what to do with my son. This is my house, child. This is my house. And he is allowed. She goes, well, we were never allowed to play with the pots and and well, we couldn't have drums in the house. You would tell us to be quieter. Take it out in the garage. That's right. Jackson's allowed to point. We'll pick up his drum set, put it. We'll be watching TV, put it right in the thing, and we'll just videotape. Pause the TV. Who cares? And when he's here, cartoons are on all the TVs. Whatever room he goes to, it's cartoons, and they stay on. We don't get to watch our shows. It's all about cartoons. Good job, Sin. I don't understand though. MMC's right, grandparent rights. I think more states should have that too. But we're not about grandparents tonight. We're about relationships. So, all being said, no relationship is perfect. You're going if you're not
Nope.
fighting, you're fake. Because I don't care how compatible you are, you're going to have miscommunications that cause fights or misunderstandings. And you might be able to calmly talk it out, but one way or another, if you don't communicate, whether it's arguing, screaming, yelling, or walking away but coming back, if you just walk away and forget, if you think it means it's fixed, you're wrong. It's going to stay. They might let it go, but eventually the next time something comes up, hey, Red Eye, it's going to start right all over again. And that's going to bring that past incident up. So now you're not just fighting about whatever the new cause is. Now you've got everything past that you just ignored. So fight, get it out.
Right, because if those old issues don't get fixed, they're just going to fester.
And then that's what's going to be this. And you know what, guys? What you're forgetting? Making up, it's always sweeter than just initial. Makeup sex is always amazing. Regular making love is amazing in itself, but the makeup, especially when you know you were right and the other person has to and admits it that they're wrong. No, I'm just joking about that part, but makeup sex is just as good. So don't be afraid to fight because even if it's just not sex, but you guys are able
Sometimes
to
better.
talk, yeah. But even if it doesn't go to sex and it just is that it's off your chest, you feel so much lighter that you guys can laugh about it afterwards. So that's my take on it. And you've got to fight, you've got to talk, um, you've got to be a not only a good lover, you've got to be a listener when it comes to sex. If you can't listen, and I don't mean even with words, watch, listen through their expression, how their faces, how their bodies move, how they react to you, male and female. There are key things that I can tell you. I know exactly what works when Tim is in the mood, what I can do to put Tim in the mood, from words to sounds to smells to visual. After all these years, what about you, man?
Um, I don't know. Right now, I'm trying to drown out Darth Vader. He's in there taking a nap, and I can hear him. I'm just kind of annoyed with him right now because I can. All I hear is.
I wish Tim only
And it's
sounded
like,
like Darth Vader,
damn, it's only 7 o'clock and you're already knocked out.
and then he'll be up all night. See?
No, he's once he's out, he's out.
Wow.
Unless he has a bad dream. If he has a bad dream, then he starts sleepwalking, and I'm like, oh hell,
So you'll be
batten
the
down the
only one
hatches
that's
because here he
you'll be
comes.
up. Yep, man. See, Tim snores
Enzo, do
really
you think
bad
you could
too.
quit drinking that loud? Gee,
You're like Holly.
dog's over here going. Damn.
I said the one thing that we got a bunch of very strong, opinionated women in our community, and people think when we say demon sisters and stuff, there is truly a reason. We are some evil women, but we love as hard as we fight. We give as much as we get. But if you come at the ones we love, all bets are off. We'll want to take your throat out, your head
Oh,
off.
most definitely.
I have no problem in real life wanting to rip a hoe's neck off or head off so I could shit down her throat and she'll be eating it for the rest of her life.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't care if you call me
Most
a name.
definitely.
So,
Call me what
but
you want. I really don't care. I
no,
mean, am a bit. Call me a bitch. Yeah, I am a bitch. But I wear that badge proudly. I
I've got it
deserve
tattooed
that
on my
after.
body.
I mean, I'm surprised and shocked and elated that I'm 50 years old now, and I've just gotten to a point to where I really don't give a shit what you think, what you say, or what you do. If if you aren't part of my real everyday life, then you don't matter.
See, to me, you can
Say what you want. I don't care.
call me gargoyle, call me fat, because and you know what? I am 50 years old. I'm not fat. I'm in pretty damn good shape. And I don't have to wear makeup. I'm not hiding who I am. I don't have to. So if that's the best shot, it's usually a man that attacks your appearance because they don't have the proper mental or the mental capacity to come at you with anything else. It just proves they're weak. So
Not only weak, but they have some issues upstairs.
pathetic.
For any man to go after a woman, then there's deeper rooted problems there.
Now, if a woman goes after a man's appearance or goes at a man, and
That's wrong too.
yes, but if a man comes back because they're come at him and they say, "Oh, you know what? This is about how you look," and then they bring back your appearance, you know what? Give or take, it's fair play. You know what I mean? But
Right.
if I'm not sitting there talking about your member all day long, then what my member is none of your business. You want to talk about, I tell you that you ain't got no teeth, or I tell you that you're ugly, or if I tell you um, you're pathetic, or you can't sing, or you can't talk, go at me like that. But when you have nothing else and you can't even say my name, that just means you just, yeah, you're worthless. So,
Well, my
but
thing is, if you're not my husband, then you have no rhyme, no reason to be talking about my body or physical appearance. Period. End of discussion.
well, tonight, considering how some people like to talk about my husband's member, I kind of am going to talk about their little member, just a little something. And
Hey,
no
go for
pun.
it.
Well, it is a little pun. Well,
Slight pun. There's a
yeah,
slight pun intended.
yeah. Hey, Scott, but we're going to let that go till about 8:30 tonight, guys. And let me just tell you, it's going to be a fun. It's just about fun and entertainment, but it's going to be a fun show tonight. But for the whole, we want you to know, if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat. But long term marriages and relationships are possible. I didn't believe it till 26 years ago. Meg, you didn't even think marriage or kids were possible 31 years ago. And look at where you're at today. So it is possible.
Right. Yeah. I
But
mean, I didn't think that there'd be any guy dumb enough to put up with me.
is it easy? No. It's the hardest
Hell no.
task. It's going to be the hardest thing that two people have to do. And both people must put in the work, because if it's only one sided, yeah, it's doomed to fail. But it is the hardest job, responsibility, career, whatever you want to say it. It is a job, because you think about it. A job is something that you go out to every day to get paid, right? That's what a marriage is. Every day you're going to put in that work so that you reap that paycheck of that long term, to have that bond with that one person that you could be completely naked. And I don't mean physically naked, that too, but I mean emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all of it. 100 stripped to your inner soul, that this person that you gets to see you for who you are. But if you're not willing to do that and give it as much back as you expect, you don't deserve it. Red Eye's got 23 years himself. There you go. They have two daughters
Congratulations
and
on that.
yep. Because I'm telling you, the first 10 years I noticed, to me, are the easiest. Between careers, they're gone most of the day. So you only have the nights to hang out with one another. Yes, you got bills, you got kids. What happens when you're not both working full time anymore and you have to spend more time? The kids are grown and it's just the two of you.
See,
It's
that's what we're dealing with now. I've got days where I'm like, I wish our kids still lived at home with us
well,
because
thank
he's
you,
like
son.
annoying the hell out of me. And
Like, damn, at least the kids would him.
I'll tell you, you guys think that the first 10 years should be easier. Once you've been married 20 years, it's easy. No. Once you get a certain point, your kids are grown, the jobs are, you're retired or at least semi-retired, or one of you's retired, you're home all day, you're not out with different people and doing the friends, and because you're not at work anymore. So yeah, you've got your friends, but they're also doing their thing still too. So now you only got each other. If you haven't put in that work and know how to when it was hard, and you think not working and not having kids is going to be easier, no. Now's the time where you think you already knew everything about each other, and you find out you're different people than you were 20 years ago, because you were always running, dealing with the kids and jobs and paychecks and living paycheck to paycheck and paying those bills. Well, now hopefully your financial situation's better. Your bills, you're always going to have bills, but you're not as stressed as you were. You're not raising those kids anymore. They're raised, they got their own families. Now you only have each other to deal with every day. It's the two of you. What are you going to talk about when you don't have the jobs or the kids or the worries of paying those bills or those promotions or worrying about what your next big promotion or anything else is going to be? And then
Right. For us, it's
you're
almost like we're dating again because it's just me and him.
exactly. And you've got to be willing to start. It's a whole new. So think about it. It's starting over. As hard as it was in the beginning of your relationship, each stage in your marriages or your partnerships has their own pitfalls and rewards. Being retired, some people go through depression, some are gleeful, some find a new lease on life and they just want to go, that midlife crisis per se, and they forget that they've got that partner who got them to that stage. So there's different pitfalls, and you got to put in the time. Each time you start a new phase in your life, don't forget, if you still love that person, you can't forget that person. You've got to start that new phase and work and phase that person and keep that person phased into what your new phase is. Because as long as you're on the same road, going in the same direction, no matter how bumpy it gets or how many potholes, you're good. But the first time this road goes this way and that road goes that way, it's kind of hard to meet back up in the center at the age now that you're older and you don't have all the things that you had when you were younger that got you that first attracted, that brought you together in the first place or kept you together. What about you, Meg?
Yeah, I mean, my sister's husband passed away not long ago, and I was talking with her the other night, and she was like, "Well, I'm thinking about dating again, but I'm just not sure." And I'm like, "Well, sis, whatever you feel is best for you. I can't tell you do it or don't do it, but if it were me, I wouldn't, simply because first of all, I'm too old for this shit. I mean, I'm just too old to go out and date and all that bullshit. And I seriously doubt I'm ever going to find another man that would put up with my stupid shit. But it's just, I don't know. I'm not stoned enough to talk about it.
Well, see, at least when you guys aren't getting along, some people can get high together, some people can have a drink together or a shot. Think about if you don't get high and you don't drink. That stuff will make
Gosh,
you want.
that's a hard thought.
Yep. And that's mine and Tim's predicament because neither one of us drink and neither one of us smoke. We don't get high. So, with that said, we've had to learn. Like, honestly, that's when I started getting on YouTube is okay, this is what's occupied you for the last 3 years. It hasn't been my life. I had the baby full time. But when I got sick, I realized that if something happened to me, Tim couldn't do it all by himself. Our daughter just can't. So I helped the dad. So I don't have him full time anymore like I once did. So now it's me. Like it should be. It should be grandparents see their grandkids, but not be the one being financially, emotionally, physically there every minute of their lives. Would I do it? I did it for 5 years. I'd be glad to do it the rest of his life and then some. But with the age difference, the odds, I've got to think about his well being. So, what can I do that Tim likes that I really didn't understand? Well, I started getting on YouTube to understand why he liked it so much as a way to connect with him on another level. And that's how I ended up on YouTube. And now we share it together. Do we still fight and argue at times? Yes. Will I tell him to knock his shit off and scream at him and not be afraid to yell at him on camera? You're damn right I'm going to. And
Yes.
he's yelled at me on camera for Christ's sake. Everybody knows that. But that's a real relationship. When we tell you this is who we are, you're seeing who we are. But you also see it's not all the time. We have never hid who we are. And if people don't like it, they don't have to watch. But we want to be as real as we can. And a lot of you know us outside of YouTube. So you know Tim is who he says he is. You know and talk to me who I am. And it never matters what other people say because somehow they end up proving exactly what we've said. Even though it might look a different way, but eventually the truth comes out and you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, well, because Tim says that the channel's not his, it's the family's that everybody in. No, that's why everybody gets along so well is because we are like a family. And a lot of us on here have had our disagreements. We have had our arguments where we've gone into a chat or a group call and we've said, Dan will be the first to be like, hey, Tim, you know what? I got your back, but I don't like what you're saying, what you did here. Or Joe, the same thing. Or Tim would be like, I'm not putting up, I don't understand why you did this, HBR, but I don't agree with what you're saying. Or Sin, why the hell did you do? You know what? I said that. Why are you taking what I said as your own? Because we're not afraid to to tell each other the truth. And we don't have to be public to air it out. And we respect
Exactly.
each
We're
other
all open and
enough.
honest with each other.
Yes. And you have to have that same goal in a relationship, especially if it's more than just a weekend or a one night stand or even a 6 month. If you think you found that person, you've got to treat it all or nothing. Because if you don't give your all, what you get is nothing back. And it's your own fault.
Exactly.
What was your hardest lesson,
Oh,
Meg, in your long term relationship in a marriage? What was the hardest thing for you to learn was?
it would have to be learning to lean on him for emotional support because I always leaned on my dad, and we were only married for 6 months, and then my dad passed away. So that was kind of the hardest thing for me to learn was to lean on him for emotional support and to know that he wasn't going to
think any differently of me or look at me like, what the hell, you know? But what I can say is when my dad passed away, my father in law, without even asking him, he stepped up and kind of took the role of being a father figure to me. And to me, that was just, it was unbelievably crazy, first of all. But that showed me what kind of person he was, is not just as a father, but as a man. And that meant the world to me. And when he passed away, it was like I lost my dad all over again.
Mm. And what do you think is the second thing for you?
Huh. That's a tough one because I don't know if there is anything else. I mean, just the emotional thing, first and foremost.
Mine was having to trust somebody with my heart and learning to admit when I was wrong, to say I was wrong, to apologize because that was the hardest thing in the beginning for me to learn. And I'm not wrong very often, and Tim will tell you that. But the once in a great blue moon where he does get me, I'll pretend. So, I'll just joke it away. Um, so it's still at times hard for me to actually be like, yes, Tim, you're right. Because he's the type that he'll gloat. But
Oh, Jamie does too.
if I'm right, and I'll be like, huh. He'll be like, and. But Tim's the type that if you fall down and get hurt, he doesn't mean to, but he'll laugh at you, right? But if
Mm-hmm.
he falls down and gets hurt and you laugh at him, oh, the rage monster comes out like, why the hell are you laughing? You think this is effing funny? Well, yeah, I do. Or like if I get a speeding ticket when I used to, he'd laugh at me. Well, if I tease him, shut up! Don't you know that's going to cost us money? Do you not know what this is going to cost? Oh, and I guess mine was just free. I was just going to pay in flowers and dandelions and and good thoughts, right? So Tim still to this day, he will laugh, not meaning to. If somebody gets hurt, he thinks it's funny. But if it's him, back off. Don't even
Yep.
crack a smile. So that has been some of the hardest things that I have to do is because it's like when he does it, I want to screen record him. And then when it happens to me, play it in his damn face how he acted. But yeah, saying hard, I'm used to taking care of my own needs, my own heart, but yet letting him have that part of me that I didn't want to share. I didn't even share with my exes to give it all to him. Just basically lay my whole self out there for him and open yourself up where you could get hurt, where I never let myself get that vulnerable with anybody. So becoming vulnerable was a big, one of the hardest things for me to have to learn to do. And I didn't learn it overnight. It took many years.
No, that's an everyday process.
Yes.
It's an everyday process because every day we learn something new about ourselves, even though we thought we knew it all about ourselves. We don't, because we change every day.
I did say I wanted to do that, Joni. I never have done it, but I have wanted to like record it and play it back in his face. But yeah, but that's what a relationship long term in marriage is about. It's constantly growing, constantly every day you start fresh. You get up and you say, I'm going to go to bed next to this same person that I woke up with. It's I'm going to make sure that he knows that I love him every single moment that I'm awake or that we're together. I have to trust this man with all of me every each day. It's a constant. It's just like every day you get up, you put your boots on, or your tennis shoes or your shoes, and you get in that car and you take yourself to work or you go to the doctor's. It's you've got to do it because you know by doing it, the reward is either good health, a paycheck, or you have that person next to you the next morning when you get up.
Hmm. And I will say that, when I went through my health crisis, losing, having my toe amputated and all that, I really couldn't do a whole lot for myself because I had to stay off my foot and, I had to use a potty chair and sponge baths and stuff like that. And he waited on me hand and foot. And there were days that I would just sit there and watch him and just cry my eyes out. He's like, "What is wrong?" And I'm like, "Why are you doing all this?" He's like, "You're my wife. I'm supposed to." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I feel guilty because you're having to do it." But then again, he was like, "You're my wife. I'm supposed to take care of you." And I just sit back and swallow my pride and be like, "Okay." But I felt so bad because he was having to do all that. And
But
he's like,
don't
"Well,
think,
you gave birth to two of my kids and you raised them." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but that's really not much compared to what you're doing right now."
and see, for me, it's not that he was supposed to. He did it because he wanted to. Because just because it's expected, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But don't
And
ask for
I
it in
wasn't even
return.
expecting him to do it. I mean, I was just like, "Oh gosh, how am I going to figure this out?" He's gone to work and I got to figure this out. But the moment he walked through the door, he's like, "What did you do? Why did you do that? You're not supposed to do that."
Do you know nothing shows you how much a person loves you is when they go out of their way to do something for you that you would feel is embarrassing or demeaning, and they do it for you without making you feel demeaning. Like if you can't, I went through a time where I wasn't able to walk. The pain was so bad. I had some bone fragments up against my sciatic nerve, and by moving just the wrong way, it was just like, I mean, it was up. Didn't even want to get up to go to the bathroom. I wanted to quit eating, quit drinking for 3 weeks. But he would gently come in and carry me to where I had to go to use the bathroom or whatever. And as humiliating as that was for me, my pride, he never made me feel less than or embarrassed or that he was just doing it because he had to. He did it because he wanted to. Just like when he got hurt and he first got back from Iraq, and I was doing everything for him in the beginning. Now, this was many, many years ago. So this was 2006 when he last got blown up. He was humiliated and embarrassed. But when he realized I was doing it because I wanted to, I wasn't going anywhere, but I wanted to. It wasn't because I had to, because I was his wife. Even though I joke with him that if he ever gets paralyzed or anything like that, I'm putting him in a nursing home because I'm not taking care of him. I've already proved temporarily when he was temporarily paralyzed that I did. And now that he's able to take care of himself and do what he needs to do for the most part, I still am here. Just like Jamie stepped up for you. He didn't have to, but he wanted to.
Right? Yeah, he could have left me. I mean, he could have left me right there and just said, "You deal with this on your own." But he didn't, and I think because he knew his dad and my dad and possibly his mom would come back and haunt him.
Or possibly just maybe because he is in love with you still after 31 years. I mean, that wouldn't have nothing to do with it, though.
Nah, he's just dumb.
Uh, so, what would you say, Megan, your closing remarks, if you had to sum up what it takes and the rewards of putting in what you think what it takes, sum it all up on whether it's a positive or a negative, and if you would do it again or you would do something different, what would you sum up? To sum it all up, to close it out.
Let's see. If you feel like it's worth fighting for, fight for it. Do whatever you can in your power to make it work. And don't give up. Have faith in yourself and that person that you're with or that you're trying to make it work with. Because at first it may seem like an impossible task, but once you've accomplished it and you reap all the rewards, it makes you sit back and realize that it was worth it. All the hell that you went through, all the good times, the bad times, the fighting, the carrying on, it was all worth it. And I can say that everybody that said, "Oh, they're not going to make it," we made it.
Do
We
you
made
ever
it.
miss? Do you ever think you missed out by getting married so young instead of playing the field? Do you ever regret that you didn't like spend your 20s just hoeing it around?
Nope, not at all. Nope, because when I was 21 and gave birth to our oldest son, and then I was 21, 23 when I had our second, and that was like the best time of my life. I think becoming a mother was the best thing that ever happened. Even though I never thought that I was going to be a mom, but it was the best thing that was my greatest accomplishment.
And the hardest.
Oh, most definitely. But like I said, my grandchildren are my reward for not killing my kids.
I got that. For me, to sum it all up before we close out today, I would be just tell you this. If you're looking for a long term and you're really looking for forever, whether it's marriage or just being in a relationship with that one special person that you want to call your own, that you want to be able to share every aspect of yourself with, you must first have that for yourself, in yourself. You must love yourself and believe in yourself and have all of that for yourself first. But when you meet that person and you believe that person is the one you found, you've got to be willing to give the exact thing to that person that you expect from him or what you think you want and need. You could bet that person's probably thinking it too. So instead of just thinking it, you two need to communicate beforehand. Sit down, and when it starts getting serious and you start developing feelings, whoever says it first, go to that person. If they feel the same way, they'll let you know. If they don't, then you didn't lose anything because you'll know right off the bat not to go any further. But sit down and before you take that next step, put out everything that you expect, that you want, and what you hope for, what you both are willing to sacrifice or to compromise to make. And when you thank you, Mike, welcome. And when you are willing to do that, don't slide. Don't let yourself, okay, well, I'll let this one go. I'll make up for it. Or you know what? It's okay that he's not doing or she's not doing what she promised. It's okay. It's just a phase. No, it's not. Because if you don't stand up and when you start seeing a problem or an issue, say something, by the time both of you can't go back and wonder like, wow, I never saw this coming. Yes, you did. You might not have admitted it, you might not have had the guts or the courage or the care enough to say something and to fix it, but we always know where the problem began, whether you want to admit it to yourself or not. So if it's something that you want, say it, but give just as good as you want back. And for us, that's what we're going to end this show with today. We appreciate you coming by for another episode of Straight Talk. Like I said, what works for us may not work for you. These are our opinions, our advice from two women who together have been married a total of 57 years. That's older than even the both of us are, and most of you in the chat are. So
Right.
you don't have to do what works for us. These are just our opinions, our thoughts, and what has worked for us. Take the advice, don't take the advice. That's your choice and your risk, or you have your own formula. So we just hope you had a good time, if nothing else. We enjoyed that you were here. We're thankful for you guys being here. Loki, that's Meg. Meg couldn't be here tonight, but welcome, Loki. It is it's Meg, OG, who hosted for her and filled in for her tonight. Which, by the way, Meg, you did an amazing job. Thank you for stepping up at the last minute and coming up to help me when
Well,
Mel
thank you
realized
for
she couldn't do
asking.
it. Wouldn't have it any other way. So, with all that being said, I thank you all for coming out. Meg, anything you want to say before we end the live?
Thanks, y'all. Sorry for my phone having difficulties, but I appreciate y'all coming out and listening to me babble.
You did exactly what we needed, and I appreciate you stepping in for us, for me and Mel, and so that we didn't have to cancel our show, and for helping me have somebody to bounce ideas off with. It wasn't the show we thought, but with our
It turned out
experience,
great.
yes, it did. So, all right, all. We will see you in 2 weeks for another episode of Straight Talk. Go out, have a great night. If you get a chance, tune in tonight about 8:30. Me and Triple T have a fun-filled show. Just a little something, something we put together, just for fun, kicks and giggles. So we'll see you later tonight.
Y'all have a good one.